One of the biggest topics in the college football gaming community over the past year has been equipment. Now, when College Football 26 dropped about 9 months ago, there was kind of a big pushback on Twitter from the equipment community because they felt that the equipment was already starting to get a bit outdated in the game, and this also could be said for Madden as well to some degree. Now, if you're not an equipment head, you really won't understand, and that's okay. Everybody likes different aspects about the game. We all want gameplay to be good. We all want Dynasty to be good. We all want Road to Glory to be good. We want online play to be good. But there is kind of a smaller community that is more passionate about equipment than maybe everybody else is, and that's okay. So in this video, I want to talk about 10 pieces of equipment that I think are the most needed for College Football 27 and the likelihood that we're going to get those things in College Football 27. Because make no mistake, we're definitely going to be getting probably more new equipment this year than we have in years past because there was a lot of feedback and criticism around it. How much we actually wind up getting, that I don't know, but I do think we're going to be getting some pretty cool stuff, and I want to talk about it in this video. And if you're new to the channel and you don't want to miss out on any of the updates for College Football 27 going forward, as we're getting really close to the part of the season where we start hearing a lot more leaks and EA themselves start putting out official info and gameplay footage. You don't want to miss out on that. Make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so that you're always up to date when the news drops. We'd like to get to 700k subs before the release of College Football 27, so if everybody watching just subscribed, we can hit those numbers in a few days. Now, the first thing we have to start out with on the list is the thing that has been the most requested, even dating back to the release of College Football 25 when the game came back, and that is the one leg sleeve. Now, some people might think the one leg sleeve look is silly. Some people don't like it, that's fine. But one thing is for sure, a lot of players in college football rock this look. And throughout this video, I will be kind of showcasing some of the mock-ups and photoshops that people in the community have done around some of these different pieces of equipment that they want to see in the game. So different people in the community have definitely put these together, and I'm just showcasing kind of what the game could look like via their mock-ups and what we could expect maybe in College Football 27. So the one leg sleeve has kind of been asked about since 25 dropped because it is a very popular look, and at the time we weren't able to get it because the way that EA's kind of game has been coded over the years is they've always left the legs as one of those things where they kind of worked in tandem, whereas with arms were a separate entity, so you could put one arm sleeve on one arm and not the other. But when it came to things like cleats and leg sleeves and compression pants and all of that, socks, both legs were kind of coded to work together because back in the day, you didn't really see as many players really kind of do something on one leg versus the other, whereas it was more kind of common to do that on arms. But nowadays, obviously, people get really creative in how they wear the equipment, or even, you know, people coming off of injury sometimes now will wear a leg sleeve on just that one leg. So the one leg sleeve being the most asked about thing for the last 2 years, I'm very confident that we will see this in College Football 27. It is, like I said, one of the most asked about things, so it's probably one of the first things they began working on once the equipment kind of criticism started coming into play earlier this year at the release of College Football 26. So I do think we will see this in 27. Number 2 is probably the next most requested piece of equipment that we've seen over the last couple of years, really more so in this last year, is the newer style mouthpieces that are attached to the face mask. Some people let them hang down during the game, some people wear them in, some people kind of do both. But this is one of the more popular looks in both college and professional sports. As it stands right now in the game, we just have the mouthpieces that are, I guess, maybe now considered a little more old school, where they're not actually attached, they're just kind of a pacifier that sits in the mouth. And some players do still wear those, but I think the overwhelming majority now has the mouthpieces that just attach to the helmet. A lot of players wear them in crazy different colors. I do think this is another thing we will see in 27 because of all the things on this list. I do think this is probably the most accurate piece of equipment that is kind of needed in these football games because it's something you see on pretty much every player now. Whereas like when you talk about one leg sleeve or certain other pieces of equipment, you know, maybe only 20% of the league wears a look like that. But when it comes to the mouthpiece attached to the face mask, I would say 9 out of 10 players in the league, it seems like, wears these types of mouthpieces. That's just kind of the look nowadays. So I do think this is going to be added as well because not only is it one of the more asked about things, it's truly the one thing on this entire list to me that is something that looks the most outdated by not having it in the game because simply every player has it. I mean, it would kind of be like having a game where at this point there's no arm sleeve, for example. So many players wear arm sleeves, or having a game where there were no gloves. Every player pretty much wears gloves, at least, you know, skill position players. So not having the attached mouthpiece of the face mask just feels very out of place because it is just something that almost every player wears now. Number 3 is another big one that's really been asked about more so, in my opinion, in the last like 6 or so months since 26 was released. I didn't see this talked about as much for 25, but it became a big talking point lately, and that is the cropped jerseys. As it stands right now, the only jersey we have in the game that is considered cropped is the one that is rolled just entirely too far up, to the point where you can see the shoulder pad sticking out, and that's just not how players actually wear cropped jerseys in the league. In fact, they wear them a lot of different ways. Some of them crop them, more so at the belt. Some of them crop them a little higher up, but you really don't see anybody wearing them quite as high as they are in the current college football games. And really what they did with this is they kind of ported this over from Madden when they made the yard game mode. They had the rolled up jersey there, and they kind of just took it over there and dropped it into college football, which I guess for the release of 25 was fine. No one really had too much to say about it, but as we moved into 26, people started to say, this really isn't quite how it looks. I think people were just fine with it in 25 because it was the game returning for the first time, but now people are saying, let's make this more accurate to how players wear it. I mean, as it stands now in the game, you can't even see the jersey number on the front of this rolled up jersey, so it really just kind of is pointless to wear it. So this has been a very big talking point. I do think this is something else we have a good chance of seeing in 27. I do think this one's a little bit harder than other pieces of equipment, just because when you're talking about the actual jersey itself, I just think more goes into making sure that actually, looks right, not only just on the player, but how it is, animated in game with the player moving. But I feel like this has been a pretty big talking point, and I know people at EA agree that the rolled up version of the jersey just is not the best look, and that's something they definitely want to fix. So I do think there's a decent chance we will see this one in 27. And real quick, I did want to mention that we have officially partnered with Civil.gg. If you're looking to win more games in both Madden 26 or College Football 26, you need to check out our website, Civil.gg. We have full offensive and defensive guides that'll actually help you win more games, and weekly new content that's built for players of all game modes at all skill levels. You'll be joining over 2,000 active members. 98% of them say they've won more games since joining. Right now, you can unlock access to everything you need to start winning for 30% off by clicking the link at the top of the description and using code ERIC. And now, back to the video. Number 4, the more up-to-date reflective or shock visors that we see players wearing now. These are kind of the go-to visor of choice, or at least it seems that way for a lot of players, where they're a little bit more mirrored or reflective. Certain types of visors we're never going to get in the game because they're not allowed in real life, because they need to be able to see the player's eyes, I believe. I think it's like a safety thing. So, there's certain types of cool visors that maybe players wear in warm-ups and stuff like that we probably won't ever see in the game. But in terms of the reflective or shock visors that players are wearing now, this one is definitely one that can be in the game, and I think this is also a pretty good chance we will see this in 27 because it's kind of becoming a lot more popular. But also, I just believe this is probably one of the easier things for them to do, because they don't really have to change the visor that already exists in the game. They kind of just have to change the look of it from the outside, just how it reflected. So I think this is kind of an easy one that they can do. So I really think just based on that alone, there's a good chance we could see this in 27. Number 5 is another one I've seen asked about a lot. More branded equipment, whether it be the towels, the wristbands, the hand warmers, the visor clips, sleeves, things like that. This is another one I think is maybe on the easier side of things, but not in the sense that you think. It's definitely easy because it's just a logo. They could put logos on things. They already have logos on equipment when it comes to Nike and things like that. But I think the biggest issue with this is more of a memory thing, because the problem with football games, memory-wise, has always been there's just so many players on the field at one time, and then you've got the sideline players, you've got the crowd, you've got big stadiums. It is very memory heavy when you talk about on field, and that's, I think, why some of the sideline players in nowadays, just don't look as good on the sideline, because it just definitely can bog down a lot of the memory to make everybody look super on point. Whereas in the older games on PS2, because the graphic fidelity wasn't what it is today, I think it was easier to accomplish kind of having everybody look good for what the graphics were at the time. But I know nowadays it definitely is more of a challenge. Not to say that there's not ways they can get around it, but it's definitely more challenging than you would think. And when you put logos on more things, believe it or not, I think that does kind of start to weigh on the memory quite a bit, just because there's so many players that it has to be loaded in for, and the coaches and all the stuff like that. So I do think we'll see some more branded equipment, just because I think this could be an easier thing in terms of just getting it in the game. I don't know that we'll see branded logos on everything. I mean, we already have it on the back plates, which they added last year, which is pretty cool. I do think, if nothing else, they should put it on the towels. I think that seems to be like the easier one, because if you look at it in Madden, I believe in Madden they have logos on the towels. I don't remember if it's the team logo or the NFL logo, but they do have a logo on the towels in the Madden game. So they already can do that in Madden, and it obviously works without causing any issues. So I don't think putting team branded logos on towels in college should be an issue. Whether they're going to put it on anything else, I think hand warmers would be another one that'd be cool, because again, in Madden they have the team logos on hand warmers. So Madden has already shown that it can definitely at least handle that. So I think they should be able to make that work for college. So I think we could potentially see that in 27 as well. Number 6, more undershirt options. Now, really, for me, this is mainly kind of the turtleneck option. I mean, I guess they could do some more stuff with undershirts altogether, like different colors. I don't know if that is something they'll be able to do where, like, because I think with Madden, they have it coded in a way where you can only wear the same color undershirt as the jersey, because I do think that is an NFL rule, even though some teams break it. I do think that's a rule. Could be wrong, but I think so. So the fact that it's coded like that in Madden, it's also coded like that in college. So I don't know if they're going to give us the option to change the undershirt color, but maybe they will. But in terms of like turtlenecks and stuff like that, I really would like to see that. That's become more of a talking point the last few months than I feel like it was at the beginning of 26. So I don't really know if we're going to get that one. This is kind of the first one where I'm unsure about getting the turtleneck. I really like that look, and it's becoming another thing that a lot of players wear. So I do think at some point we'll get that. You know, could be an update, could be maybe college 28. They're only going to do so much, you know, for 27, because there's other things they have to work on as well. But I think they're going to give us, like I said, a lot of the things I'm going over on this list. Turtleneck's one of those things I'm a little up in the air about. I'm not really too sure if we're going to get that one just yet, because I think there are more important things that we've talked about, like the leg sleeves, the mouthpieces, the jerseys, you know, the visors. Those things are a little bit more important, I think, at this point in time, and then I think they'll start moving on to some of that other stuff. Number 7 kind of goes with this a little bit, but the stacked sleeve options. So we did get this in Madden this year, so I 100% can almost guarantee we're going to get it in college football. Pretty much anything that Madden has will come to college, and then vice versa. Anything that college has will come to Madden if allowed. So obviously this is one of those things that would be allowed, so they're going to pull that over. Whereas like with college, you have the pants above the knee. They can't put that in Madden because the NFL won't allow it. So that's like an example of where something wouldn't be allowed. The college game, most things should be allowed because the NCAA isn't really over this game, so they don't really have any say so. But in terms of stacked sleeves, Madden got it in an update. Not sure why college didn't get it in an update, but I'm almost positive they're going to be getting that in 27. So that means like the ability to wear a quarter sleeve and a shooter sleeve on the same arm. Things like that should be in the game, so definitely will be excited to see that. Number 8, this one is just going to be about updating existing equipment. Now, I know some people, this isn't as big of a deal as adding completely new equipment that isn't in the game, but updating existing equipment, I think, is very important when you talk about new cleats, new gloves, potential new helmets or face masks on a given year, but also just the fit of this equipment, especially goes into helmet fit. That's something a lot of people have talked about in the community, where the helmets just didn't look that good. Now, they have made some updates this year to make them look better, tilt the helmets more, make them a little bit better, but also this goes even just with like pad sizing. I think they need to shrink the pads, like the shoulder pads. They're just a little too bulky. I mean, they used to look a lot worse, to be honest, in some of the older Maddens, but they've made them better. There's still a ways to go there, and I think if you make the shoulder pads smaller, it also just gives the proportions of the player a better look, and it makes the helmets look a little bigger by default. But definitely want to see some more helmet, better fit. I think they're going to be working on that just because it's been such a talking point. How much better? I don't know. I don't think they're going to like rescan all the helmets and things like that, but I think they could adjust the size, tilt them a little more. Cleats, we definitely should be getting new cleats and gloves. We get that every year, but I think especially right now, things like the Foamposite cleats, the Jordan 4 cleats we saw some players wearing, I think there's a good chance we could see stuff like that. If not in 27 at launch, definitely in an update, kind of like how we saw with an update last year where they added the LeBron 4 cleats, things like that. So usually we're going to get some new stuff in this department, but aside from that new stuff, just want to see them work on adjusting pads and helmets a little bit more, which I do think all of that is on the table. Number 9, the ski mask. This is something I saw asked about a lot more in 25. It feels like in 26, not as many people care as much. I'm not gonna say they don't care at all, but this doesn't seem to be as high up on the priority list. Whereas when 25 dropped, the 3 things I saw most people say was they wanted one leg sleeve, they wanted the attached mouthpiece, and they wanted a ski mask. I feel like the ski mask has kind of dropped down the priority list, at least in terms of the people on Twitter that are constantly talking about it. And for probably good reason, because this is one of those things you really won't see too much in the game. Like you might see it poking out in the helmet just a little bit, but with the helmet on, not something that's going to stand out a whole lot. Something I still think should be in the game because players wear it, but definitely lower on the list just because it won't stand out as much as all the other things I mentioned. I'm not really sure we're going to get this in 27. I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that comes later. I know at one point they were kind of working on this though, but to my knowledge, it just didn't look right, so they wanted to redo it and not put it in the game. That's at least what I heard. So I don't think it's just high up on the priority list right now. There's so many other important things, so I don't think in 27, but I do think at some point this will be something they look to add. And number 10, I'm going to go with more eye black options. Now, the eye black that's in the game now, again, this isn't something you see too crazy under the helmet, so I don't think the priority is high on this, but we do see players kind of experimenting with different looks nowadays or writing stuff on the eye black. Now, I don't think they're ever going to give you the ability to personalize what you could write on it just because, you know, people will find a way to do some stupid stuff with it, but I do think they could potentially put some generic stuff in the game in there, whether it's just like the player's number or the team name. Just something, you know, just to make it look a little bit nicer, or just add some different styles that we see other players wearing. This one, don't really think we're going to get in 27 personally, because I just don't think it's as high on the priority list, but I do think it's something a lot of people would like to see the ability for, especially for like Road to Glory modes. So maybe eventually, but don't think we're going to see that one in 27. Now, if you want to know about some other big rumors that we've already heard about college football 27, make sure to check out this important video right here on the screen.